What was one of the biggest reasons why millions of Americans love President Trump? Well, he made promises in the campaign and worked tirelessly to keep those promises when he was president. Now, why do so many politicians and left-wingers hate President Trump? Well, it's because he made promises in the campaign and worked tirelessly to keep those promises when he was president. For decades in Washington, D.C., it has been customary for politicians, mostly Democrats who push socialism, to make promises on the campaign trail they never intend to keep. Many of these shameless charlatans maintain that practice throughout their terms in office. They keep it up because Democrat voters continue to vote for them despite all the lies and broken promises. One such snake-like politician who is rewarded for lying and failing up his entire career is Joe Biden. His entire resume is built on exaggerations, lies, and broken promises. The reason he gets away with it is that the biased press continually covers for Biden and his ilk. Keeping promises, one reason why Trump is superior to Biden. We do the job the majority of the press refuses to do in tonight's preamble. Those who support illegal immigration in the press and in the Democrat Party, they lied about our border agents whipping illegal aliens as the aliens broke into our country. Instead of being a leader and telling the truth, Joe Biden lied to the United States.
It was horrible what to see, as you saw. To see people treated like they did, horses barely running them over, people being strapped, it's outrageous. I promise you those people will pay.
Those border agents were doing something that Biden doesn't believe in, protecting America and our people. So he thought acceptable to lie about them, so they'd be intimidated from doing that duty in the future. It's one thing to lie about real men who are everything you are not, but it's quite another thing to lie about fixing a problem that you created. Here's Biden lying about fixing the ISIS problem that he and resident Barack Hussein Obama made.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's a difference between combat troops and leaving special forces in a position. I was part of the coalition that put together 68 countries to deal with stateless terror as well as failed states. Not us alone, 68 other countries. That's how we were able to defeat and end the caliphate for ISIS.
In fact, it was President Trump who had to clean up Obama and Biden's mess on ISIS, a fact that history is very clear on. Speaking of President Trump, Joe Biden promised he'd return civility to the White House, civility he claimed Trump destroyed. While addressing the National Prayer Breakfast on February 3rd, Biden called for a return to civility, saying, quote, "We don't spend as much time with each other as we used to," end quote. Now, has Biden kept up his promise of civility?
More inflation. What a stupid son of a bitch.
Wow. Calling a reporter a stupid SOB. Well, that doesn't sound very civil to me. What about those of us who disagree with him? Is Joe Biden civil to us?
I know where I stand. I will not yield. I will not flinch. I will defend the right to vote, our democracy against all enemies, foreign and, yes, domestic.
Calling one's political opponents enemies. I suppose we can call Joe Biden's promised civility a definitive broken promise. Now, what about the China virus pandemic? Here's Biden saying he wouldn't impose mask and vaccine mandates.
No, I don't think it should be mandatory. I wouldn't demand to be mandatory, but I would do everything in my power, just like I don't think masks have to be made mandatory nationwide.
But as history clearly shows, Biden broke his word there, too. Joe Biden tried to institute vaccine mandates, breaking a major promise, not to mention violating every American's right to make medical decisions for themselves. Only the Supreme Court prevented him from breaking that promise. You know, come to think of it, whenever Mr. Biden opens his mouth, he seems to be telling nothing but half-truths or full-blown lies.
I haven't had a house burned down with my wife in it. She got out safely, God willing. When I became vice president, one of the Capitol Hill newspapers estimated that I had taken more than 7,000 round trips in Amtrak over my career. A guy named Angelo Negri came up and he goes, "Joey, baby," grabs my cheek like that. And I thought they were going to shoot him. I really did. I said, no. He's a friend. Average 131 days a year, 257 miles a day. Joey, you traveled over 2 million miles. Big deal. I came back from South Africa trying to see Nelson Mandela and getting arrested for trying to see him on Robben Island. He was in prison.
That leads us to last night on NBC News. Lester Holt, a man who infamously said that fairness in journalism was overrated, he sat down with Joe Biden. Inflation is on the minds of the American people. We haven't seen this level of inflation eating into our families' incomes in 40 years. Joe Biden and his puppeteer millennials infamously claimed that inflation was, quote, transitory, meaning it would be temporary. But as we've all seen, that was yet another of Joe Biden's lies. In a surprising act of journalism, in the gentlest way he could think of, almost laughing at American suffering, Lester Holt asked Biden about his lie.
Inflation was going to be temporary. I think a lot of Americans are wondering what your definition of temporary is.
Well, you're being a wise guy with me a little bit. I understand that's your job.
Wait, so calling out a sitting occupier of the Oval Office on a broken promise or a lie is someone being a wise guy? Funny, I thought it was the press doing what it hasn't done for decades with a Democrat in office, being the voice of we the people and asking some tough questions. You folks in the biased press, you ought to try that out more often. You might see your audiences grow, trust in your product grow, and you just might improve the country. Who am I kidding? The biased press is the voice of abusive government. We in the conservative movement are the voice of the Constitution and the people. And you can bet that we will continue to hold these feckless politicians accountable for the harm that they do to the country, to your towns, and to your family. That's a promise we will keep.